All right, we are live on the page. Let me go share it out to the group.
All right.
Yo, what the fuck with all this technical shit?
Thanks for coming in and saving the day.
Yeah, I was gonna sit this one out because I figured you guys would talk more.
Zoom, I've been using Zoom for meetings recently, and it's so freaking smooth, and it just never screws up.
Yeah, well, it seems like anything that connects to Facebook was causing an issue because I went to this other site that I always use to grab a stream key, and it wasn't working. So then I had to just do it directly in Facebook. Maybe they're trying to cut out anybody that streams to that besides them. All right, let me just post it in the group, and we are good to go. Ross, let us know if you can hear Nick and Landon because I want to make sure OBS is working right for them.
Yo, what is up, everybody? We're back. This is not bullshit live. A couple minutes late here, having some technical difficulties there recently, but sounds like we should be good. Definitely let us know in the comments below if there is any issues with sound, anything like that. Any feedback, any word from Roscoe, we see.
He did not respond yet, but there is a delay, so that is probably why.
And Ross.
Oh yeah, I should check on my phone.
Yeah.
That might work. I can hear Nick twice. Oh, that's probably from me. All right. Now we should be good.
Okay. All right, I just want to make sure we're good before we jump in, guys. I'm so excited here. We've got the sales gorilla himself, Landon. I wanted to do the whole intro thing that you always do, bro, but
we can do it.
There you go. But yeah, we had the technical difficulties. Guys, if you don't know who Landon is, he's an amazing salesman. We've connected. I've been on some of his shows. I've been big in his group and learned a ton from the guy. So we're so excited to have him on here. He's got an amazing approach to sales, and he's got a giant group that we'll talk about. But we're going to go over everything today as far as sales goes. We're going to learn a bit about Landon's strategy. We're going to learn about what he teaches, and we're going to talk about how to position yourself on a sales call. And as always, guys, ask any questions in the comments below. Let us know what you guys want to talk about and if you like certain things. But with that being said, Landon, introduce yourself, my man. Tell us about who you are, what you do.
What's up, Home Skillet? How you doing today, Nick?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Doing great.
What's going on, guys? For those of you that don't know me, here's the short, quick, and dirty. I'm 40. I'm a native of Colorado. I'm a certified chef. I've got 2 teenage kids. I've been married twice. I'm super happy with the woman that I've been with for about 10 years. I'm a sales guy, 15 years. I spent 4.5 years in real estate, all outbound until I built a referral network. I spent the next 10 plus years in corporate business to business finance globally, and until I figured out the way I prefer to do sales, it was all outbound. So I'm like a fucking hardcore sales guy, like most of you in here are. What Nick's currently doing with his agency, like I get all that. The shortest version of what has come after that is I found myself a blue ocean of people that needed help, wanted help, and didn't fit in the categories of like Grant Cardone's sales training stuff. I'm working specifically with people that want 5 to 10 clients a month that can use their personality to attract them clients instead of spending time going out and chasing people. Though I can totally speak to both of it, and I don't care where this conversation goes, we can totally get into like outbound hardcore phone calling and emailing and all that shit, or attraction marketing, or we can talk about both. That's up to you guys that are watching this, but that's who I am. I'm known as the sales gorilla. Bless you. And yeah, I don't like most people. I like most of you guys, but I don't like
Way to finish. I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, I'm excited to see where the conversation goes. We don't necessarily have like a strict plan, guys. Again, any comments you guys have, we will take questions. As Landon mentioned, I'm very familiar in both outbound and more recently in inbound attraction style marketing. There's always bumps and learning curves with each one of those. But Landon, since you really have focused on attraction marketing, let's talk about your evolution, going from that hardcore outbound B2B style method to the method that you've got today, why you've gone that way, why you see that the direction that that sales is headed.
Sure. So halfway through my sales career, I had been 2 or 2.5 years into corporate finance. And for those of you who don't really understand what I'm talking about, the company and the industry that I worked for, we helped companies protect themselves from getting screwed by either their vendors or people that they were selling to. And we're talking a small deal was, if we had to go do collections for a company, it was maybe a few thousand, all the way up to several million. And I've sold everything in between, 5-figure, 6-figure, 7-figure. And my path was, I was raised by women, right? So dad and granddads were both working, and I was the oldest on both sides, mom and dad's side, and the oldest grandkid. And so I got the women that were in their prime, and I'm an emotional being to begin with. So I was really indoctrinated into empathy and reading people and actually fucking listening to what's like going on and not being said. And then I end up in sales, and I learn all of the psychological mindfuckery that when done right, it's just a force, right? There's no right or wrong until you begin to use it for right or wrong. And I got really, really good at that. And I say almost jokingly now, if somebody stayed on the phone with me, they bought. They had two choices. They could hang up or they could buy. And about halfway through my sales career, about 7 years in, my kids went from little kids to preteens. For those of you that have kids and have gone through that, you know that that's a totally different relationship. Little kid, it's because I said so. Bigger kid, they start questioning things, and so the communication changes. At the same time, I'm like starting to realize that I hate my fucking clients. So in my world, it wasn't like I sold a service and they used it one time and then they went away. If you're going to be in business and you're going to sell something, you might as well find something that you can sell and they continue to come back month after month after month, right? Well, awesome. Here's the key. Salespeople have learned how to manufacture relatability, which allows us to get know, like, and trust, and we can do all of the squirrel hunting to find all the stuff that we need to bring out in a conversation, and then we can sell somebody on why us and why now and why how much. I realized that while I was really good at that, after they were a client for a couple of months, I didn't want to fucking deal with them, but I had to because they obligated me with money. Well, for the first few years of doing the sales thing, it wasn't that big of a deal, but now I'm really good, and I'm really good in my industry, and I'm managing 400 clients. And having 400 clients and 300 of them you fucking hate sucks. So I find myself in this weird position, and one morning getting out of the shower early because I had to drive across Metro to go to work, I'm like, I fucking hate this, and I hate you. Like I was that pissed off and that angry and that upset because my day, every day was bringing on new clients, and that was awesome sauce. It was the skill set that I had. But then it was dealing with fires and dealing with issues and dealing with people that don't show up to meetings on time and fucking people that don't. And it sucked. And I was like, why can't I bring on people that I want to deal with? Like, it eventually came down to that little thing. Why can't I figure out who it is that I want to deal with and just bring them on? And I went through this process to where I figured out that, all of us salespeople, we want to find out if the solution they need and the solution they're looking for is the thing we can provide, and then how do we tell them that they have to have it, and we're the only ones that can deliver it. That's what a sales guy's job is. Well, really, to make your life a whole lot easier, it's much easier to qualify them against your personality and first determine, am I going to like Bob if I bring him on as a client? Like, if I go through this process and he obligates me with money and I have to service him, do I want to fucking deal with him? For me, and this is not what I think everybody should do. There's a lot of people out there that don't care and they can play the mask and this is who I am at work and whatever. If that's you, fine. For me, I had to make a change. And the change that I made was, well, if I'm going to bring this jerk on, I don't want to think that he's a jerk. And if I bring this guy on and I vet him against my personality and he likes me first, the sales conversation's totally different and way fucking easier. So that's the process that I began to develop. And what I came up with was, okay, if I've been working in this industry and that's a vertical that I'm really good at, I really understand them and their issues and all of the stuff in the conversation, and my company's really good at dealing with that industry, but their mindset around money is lack, and their attitude is generally shit, and they're never fucking on time. That was concrete. Okay. I dealt with concrete companies. I had Lafarge for like 6 years, giant global, right? Well, oil and gas, by and large, they have a totally different mentality around money. Same kind of people, blue collar. I can speak the way that I speak to them, and they have the need, and they have a totally different response to money and things that revolve around money. It's all positive. They show up to meetings on time. They're okay paying a premium, and on and on and on. And that kind of continued to just develop into the way I did things. So if I got on the phone with somebody, I know my product, I know our service, I know the conversation, I know their industry. It eventually came down to this. Bob, this is Landon. I'm a sales guy. This is a sales call. You might just want to hang up. And Bob would be like, all right, what you got? I'm with XYZ. We do ABC. I want 3 minutes to have a conversation with you. And I won't turn into a sales jerk. And 9 times out of 10, I had the conversation right then and there. And if I wanted to, and it was a fit and they needed it, they were like, yeah, dude, this totally fucking makes sense. And then I had a friend. Totally different process than all the sales stuff that we all try and do. So that, I hope, answers that question.
Wow, yeah, so much good stuff there. I think we can already, we talk about this on here all the time. You touched upon it. You've got to find clients that you like and that you can work with, guys, or else it's going to defeat the entire purpose of why you're starting to run your own business in the first place. It's going to be worse if you hate who you're dealing with. We have a no asshole tolerance over here. I will kick people out. We will fire them. I fired someone not long ago who I didn't like his tone of voice with one of my account managers, and we fired him. No asshole policy. And another thing that you brought up, which is fascinating and I love, and it's so true, is the mindset around money and how certain industries can look at things different than others. You know, and it's been fascinating for me to, you know, really realize that even within the same industry, if you look at different niches and what their focuses are, they can have completely separate things. You know, for example, chiropractors versus chiropractors who do injection style stuff. There's a big difference between the two. You know, your general chiro versus people who focus on the medical side of things. You know, for example. So you've mentioned a lot there. And so as far as you started learning, you started opening up that call. Did you start developing an attraction method within while you were working with this company and while you were doing this, and then work on it moving forward? But talk a little bit, you know, what happened next.
Sure. So, and here's another thing, guys. If you comment in the comments, Facebook will show this to other people that are in the group, but not like waiting and watching for this. If you've got questions, post them in the comments. Like it's your group, guys. You can do whatever you want with it, but let's have a conversation here. This doesn't need to be a lecture. So here's kind of where I went with this. What is it that a business owner or a sales professional is after ultimately? Business coming to them, business being sent to them. In sales, we call that a referral network or referral business. That is the creme de la creme. You paid your dues, you killed it for your clients, they love you and you're amazing, and they all send everybody to you. That's what we all want, right? No sales professional in their right mind wants to have to do the prospecting thing long term. We all eventually want to get to a point where we've got a book of business that sustains itself. We get to do our thing and go play golf with our clients instead of dialing the phone. That's what we want ultimately. Now, take that into account with, if that's the case and you have to build some kind of presence in your industry before that begins, how do you go about building presence? And what does that actually mean? Well, you got to be good at the thing that you do, or the company that you work for has to be good at the thing that they do for any of the rest of this to matter. But the fastest way to differentiate yourself in the marketplace is to be different. In the industry that I was in, everybody was using essentially the same script, and it's all pain point, and it's all motherfucking, and it's all, you know, that way. And so when I came at it from the standpoint of, dude, this is a sales call, you might just want to hang up. By the way, I didn't come up with that. That's a Sandler training. I have been through sales trainings, many of them. when I came at it from that perspective and I dropped all the bullshit, and I even went through like a year and a half where I told him, I'm going to leave the dog and pony show at home. Let's just have a conversation. That worked really well too. Once I started doing this, it occurred to me that I didn't have to work so hard on those prospecting calls. And the actual sales part of the conversation was way easier. And here's a couple of things for you guys that are watching this. Nobody has an actual sales problem. Everybody has an actual prospecting problem. Nobody has a problem with the sales conversation if you know your shit. Everybody has a problem getting the right fucking people on the phone. That's what salespeople do, is they get people on the phone so they can weed through those phone calls. Not, maybe, not, maybe, not, yes, not, maybe, not, right? Okay, well, that's the part of the job that sucks the most. I don't care how strong of a persona you've got and how thick your skin is. Going through that repetitive motion, it's like making eye contact with her and then her and then her and then 70 hers later, there's one that smiles back at you. Nobody likes that. Take that into account with the fact that, if I don't have to spend all my day doing that, and I can tell my boss that I can make him more money if I take a client to lunch, and we have a 2-hour lunch, and we have a scotch or two, and we smoke a cigar, and I'm not on the phone, all of a sudden my life's easier too. So in making this transition, this is what I started to realize, that I could try and just get better at the sales thing, but it's still just more work, and it's still just more bullshit. Or I could go about it in a way that, well, I like to break the rules. Who says that it actually is only able to be done this way? They all say you have to do it this way. Let me see if I can find something different. And I started doing the different thing, and pretty soon, and I think you've heard me say this, man, the industry that I came from, the bullpen, the sales floor, you were required to dial 225 calls a day at minimum if you were there long enough and at a certain percentage of your quota. Everybody else, you had to dial the phone 300 times a day. That sucks. Like, that's miserable suck. I got it to the point where I was making 10 cold outbound calls a month, right, by doing it this different way. Now, to come all the way back and land this plane, I figured out how to do it this different way out of a self-necessity thing, out of a selfish thing. I don't want to do that. That sucks. How can I do it in a way that I get better results? And whether it's more or fewer clients, I'm making more money, having more impact. They're sending me referrals without me asking. That's how I came upon this.
Awesome.
And by the way, I can fucking talk, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good, man. I 100% can relate. A lot of people on here know that, I came from a professional sports world where we had to make, 80, 100 dials a day. Cold calling. And I was cold calling for teams that were shit, horrible NFL teams. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 0-8. Learned real quick how miserable that was, for a couple of those seasons. Their Sacramento Kings before they were going to move the team, all that stuff. So you developed this strategy, right? And you started working and you making 10 cold outbound calls. Now, we've been, kind of dancing around the attraction marketing style thing. A lot of people in here are still looking for their first couple clients. They're still looking to get going. We've talked about getting appointments with cold outreach till it's death. Cold email, freaking, LinkedIn, whatever you're going to do, direct mail. Let's talk about what would you recommend to somebody who's getting started, and then maybe some action points to help them start generating some of those calls. Because I think that a lot of people start looking at attraction marketing, and based on the way it's been talked about in the past, they need to have 50 hours of content. They need to be influencers in this niche, when I'm pretty sure you don't have to be like that. So just talk about getting started, what you'd recommend.
Let's actually do two ways. Guys, for those of you that are watching this live, do you guys like Nick and Balls? Do you like Business Not Bullshit? Do you guys love this group and what goes on here? If you do, type yes in the comments, and I'll actually give you 3 different pieces that you can do cold outbound, and how you can build a client network, and then how to do the attraction marketing. And I think I can do it in about 10 minutes.
Oh, guys, listen to that. I'm going to start typing yes, man. I want to hear. I'm looking for new stuff. Also,
Okay.
guys, just letting you know real quickly, because I want to say I'll start sharing some tips. This week alone, I've really ramped up my outbound sales efforts here in the last week. for both inbound and outbound. And we've done 40K month one over the last 4 days here. So if you guys want to hear a little bit about what we've done to bring on 40,000 month one revenue, if we break that out, it's about $500,000 a year in revenue. We will talk about that as well. I'll drop it and I'll double up. So start making some comments below. Landon, we'll open with you, man.
Cool. Mr. Middleton, I like your name. I dig it. It's even spelled the right way. Okay, so for those of you that are new, I'm going to give you something that is often overlooked, and people are going to think this is too stupid simple that they're not going to try it. And you're the one leaving money on the table if you don't do this. The second piece, I'm actually going to tell you how to go like highly target and focus your marketing and your prospecting. So you're going to go do the outbound thing. I'm going to give you how to go do it from a guy that had to figure out how to do it, who hated doing it. And then the third piece, I'll come back and tell you how to build a personality and how to begin building the attraction marketing thing. If you're new at what you do and you're really, at minimum, very interested and very passionately curious about the thing that you're going to go do, your craft, or if you're good at it and you've done it for yourself or an employer, but now you're going out on your own and you want to get clients quickly, we all have a network of between 50 and 100 people that know us enough to care about us, okay? Make yourself a list, and here's what you say when you call them. Bob, it's Landon. You go through the couple, how you doing, whatever, 2 or 3 minutes of that call. And then you say, Bob, I'm doing XYZ. And I am just getting started. I've got a couple of clients, but I'm expanding. The reason that I'm calling you today is I'm curious who you know that owns a business, runs a business, could be looking for X. Who do you know that you could get me a conversation with? And here's how I normally would say that. I'm interested in who you know that I could get a conversation with. Better yet, who do you know that you could get me a conversation with? Here's the deal with this. You know 50 to 100 people, and out of those 50 to 100 people, there may be 2 or 3 that actually know somebody who will say, yeah, dude, that totally sounds awesome. Let's do this. And they're a client. Well, when you talk to John, who Bob referred you to, you tell John the same thing. Man, I totally appreciate it. Thanks for taking the call. Who do you know that owns a business, runs a business, blah, 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 that could use this, that I could get a call with? Better yet, who do you know like that you could get me a call with? If you do that with 50 to 100 people and you actually follow up and go through that process, realistically, there's no reason you can't get 6 or 8 clients in the next 30 to 60 days. Okay, that's one. If you're just starting out, there you go. Here is the prospecting method that I finally eventually developed, and I'm going to give you here's how you go find this info when I'm done. You're serving an industry, and within that industry, there's a specific niche that you're going after, like Nick said a few minutes ago, chiropractors that do injections. Yes, they're a niche down aspect, vertical, of that industry. Cool. Go focus on a state. Better yet, go focus on a city. Go take Dallas. Go take Houston. Go take LA. Go take Metairie, Louisiana. It doesn't matter. Pick a state and pick a city, and then you're going to go do some Google search. And what you're looking for is about 100 companies that do specifically that thing in that city. You need the business owner's name, phone number, and an email address. If you go get that on 100 companies in a city, here's what you do. It's a outbound phone call, and I'll tell you what to say on that phone call here in a second, followed up by an outbound email. And then about every 3 or 4 days, you follow up with a phone call and an email. And to the level of persistence that you're willing to put into it will determine how many clients you can get out of this. Now, hold that thought. I'm going to tell you why this is important. Even if you're amazeballs and you're in this group and you're a fucking amazing salesperson and you just murder it, you know your product and your service and your industry really, really, really well. You will up your close ratio between 20 and 30% just by doing this one thing. Only focusing on one niche, one day. And if you can go from one niche one day to one niche in one city in one day, your conversation gets tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter that day. And later on through that process, you are so on it. You're so indoctrinated to the way they think, the way they talk, that your conversation is specific to them. Okay, now, here's the phone call. Hey, Bob, it's Landon. I'm with XYZ. We do ABC. This is a sales call. You might just want to hang up. Ha ha ha, what you got? Well, I tell you what, let's do this. I'm going to ask you some questions, then I'm going to tell you everything that I do, and then I'm going to let you ask me all the questions you've got, and then I'm going to ask you if that's fair. Does that work? Super simple. They say, yes, that's fair. You just got an opportunity. You earned the right to have that conversation without having to be a douchebag. Everybody catch that? Okay, now, depending on the industry that you're calling and the time of day you're calling, probably 70 to 90% of the time you're going to get Bob's voicemail. You leave that on voicemail. Let's just cut all the bullshit, okay? Bob, I do ABC with XYZ, blah, 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 blah. I'm looking for 3 minutes of your time. I just sent you an email that's got my contact info. Have a great day. The people that will appreciate the no bullshit, that are looking for the thing that you do, are going to be the ones that call you back with zero resistance to the conversation. The email says the exact same fucking thing. Bob, I'm ABC with XYZ. I just left you a voicemail. I'd like a 3-minute conversation with you. Give me a call back. And every 3 or 4 days you follow up and do that. After you've left somebody 2 voicemails and 2 emails, that next voicemail is, Bob, I'm pretty sure you're probably getting these voicemails and these emails. And if it's a no, that's totally okay. Just send me an email back with go pound sand and have a nice day. And I'll quit calling. That was my process when I was doing the cold outreach, and it fucking works. Okay. Now for the attraction marketing piece, be who the fuck you are. It's totally okay for people to not like you. Like, it's actually a good thing. Nick and I get along. Balls and I get along. You and I might not get along. Guess what? That's totally okay. Because if you can use your personality by being your real self, no mask, no bullshit, not trying to be something for somebody for any reason, you're giving them an immediate cue to, oh, I think I like this. Or, it ain't for me. The faster you can get to that no, which I know you've all heard, by the way, it doesn't need to be verbalized by them, the less people you have to deal with to get to the yeses. Okay, so you're all on fucking Facebook. Right now, you're all on Facebook. Every one of you are doing sales for either yourself or a business that you work for. Even if you do this for a business that you work for, that doesn't mean that you can't set up a Facebook profile funnel. Super simple. Cover photo relative to your marketplace. An image of you, preferably smiling, showing your teeth. Super simple, super easy. In the intro section below that, a little bit of info, right? If you own a business, well, that link right there should go to a Facebook business page. On that Facebook business page, guess what you get to do? Talk about the thing that you're really interested in, which is why you're doing this fucking craft thing anyways. Why is it cool? What's interesting about it? Use that. Oh, and guess what? Here's the kicker. Facebook for business is a pay-to-play platform. You're going to need an easy, simple lead magnet that gets the attention of the people in that world that you want to serve for the sole purpose of pixeling them. That way you can constantly be putting this content from your business page in front of them. Traction marketing. So I think that was under 15 minutes.
Yeah. Man, there's so much good stuff there, and I actually want to take a chance to elaborate on a few of these, share some thoughts as well, because that's it. I mean, those are 3 amazing ways, guys, things that we've done all this week. So first off, the idea of reaching out to your personal network. I know that a lot of people are timid to do this, they're scared, but guys, this isn't a fucking network marketing scheme. We're not fucking selling that anymore. That's not what this is about. This is about real business structure, real customer acquisition, or real service, depending on what you do, helping these businesses, helping these people. So if you can't have conversations with your family and friends about it, what makes you think you're going to be able to show up and have a conversation with a freaking client about it, especially if you're nervous getting on the phones. So just do that. We talked about that before. Again, Landon's on here saying it now too. Just if you haven't done that, make sure you do it, because you should be able to easily get 2 or 3 clients. And if you have to discount if you're just getting started, you don't have to charge them $5,000 for a management fee or anything like that if you're running advertising for them, depending on what you're doing. But make sure you reach out and you tap into that market. Again, we're not selling MLM. You should be proud of what you're selling. You should be proud of the service that you're offering. Now, the second one, with the phone call. I love that introduction. That is absolutely fantastic with the cold call. And I love the idea that you brought up going after one niche, and even more specifically in one state and one city. I talk all the time on here how important it is to go after one niche when you're getting started. One service, one niche. You are not a full service agency. You don't even know what the hell that means, and you can't serve everybody. You know, that's the biggest issues that I see with so many people. Just pick something that you're good at. AdWords, PPC, Facebook. That's for people who are looking to start agencies. And go after one niche. And the reason why is because, Landon, you nailed it. You start to understand the way they talk, what they react to, what they are thinking. Because the whole key to the sales process is being able to put yourself in their mind and be able to answer their objections before they even come up within there. So I love that. I think that's absolutely crucial. And one thing I would add on to that, because that's very similar to some of the outbound strategies that I've talked about, and Landon, you can tell me what your thoughts are here, is I like to, when you're doing all this time Googling businesses looking for things, I like to ensure that they are marketing. Now, this is specific for agency owners. Ensure that they're marketing. And if I see that they're advertising, whether that's on Groupon, newspapers, radios, TV, whatever, there's a million ways to see if people are advertising. I also like to include a direct mail piece in there, a handwritten piece, especially if you're going after your first clients. Because right now that costs you about $1.50, and it will get read. It will get read by the piece. We actually just had it, it happened the other day. I've actually got it right here. I'll show you guys.
Yes.
We got a direct mail piece. My business partner, Ben, who's been on some of these lives and, all that stuff, he doesn't talk to anybody. He doesn't like to. He doesn't want to. That's not what he's here for. He does a lot of the other stuff behind the scenes. He would never, ever take a call, and if our assistant passed him a call, she'd be pissed. But what got to him was a little caution tape and a handwritten note. Now, we don't need their services, but guess what? We've still got this here because this was a great marketing piece. So I've talked about that before. We talked about it last week. Add that in. If you know it's a targeted prospect, show that person. And like you said, you follow up a couple times. Hey, Mr. So-and-so, you see you've called a couple times. I want to make sure that you got my piece, my note, my letter. And when you're writing that direct mail piece, I recommend sending them to something, whether that's your website, whether that's to an email video that you've created for them, something that talks about who you are. But if you combine the strategy Landon just talked about with just being straight up real and honest with emails, with direct pieces, you're going to get in front of people. You're going to land that appointment. So I love that strategy. I love that hook, man. That's a great introduction, because people, they get it. I get sales calls to my cell phone, and maybe it's just because I'm a salesperson, but sometimes I'll play along. Sometimes I'll tell them, hey, man, your pitch needs a little improvement, Yep. But I love it when they just cut the BS, because I've said it before. I'm like, look, man, I'm a salesman. Stop. Just tell me what we got, and I'll let you know if I'm interested. Mm-hmm. So that's awesome. Now, with the attraction side of things, I think it's hyper important. I think it's only going to continue to get more important in 2018. How long do you typically tell the people that you work with in your training will it take for them to get set up? Do you tell them to get started right away? Because I know you mentioned paid advertising. I do think that is kind of an important piece in all of this. Organic, as we all know, Facebook just shook the world again and it's dead and all that type of stuff. But at what point do you start telling people to start building up that attraction marketing side of things?
Well, if you want a tree, there's 2 times to plant it, right? If you want a tree in your backyard to shade your house, if you want to plant it 20 years ago or today, here's the deal. And this is getting a little bit more into, my world. And here's the deal for those of you, and I'm going to crush the day for some of you. Okay. If what you're doing to try and generate revenue for yourself is not something that you like, the hurdles that you're going to face in the very near future are probably going to deter you completely for some of you. If that's the case, then you need to understand this. Everybody and their brother and their brother's dog and their brother's dog's vet is a digital marketer now helping businesses get leads. You're in a dog fight. If you're passionate about doing that thing, and that's legit passion, and you're good at it, the longer you wait to build a presence around you and your personality in front of your market, the longer it's going to take you to get to where you want to go. It's not very hard. You're already on Facebook. If you like the thing that you're doing and you like the people that you're trying to serve, well, why not start building a relationship with them? It's not a crazy, stupid, ridiculous amount of content. Just start the conversation. And here's what I recommend. Most of the people that come through my world, realistically, they're looking at spending $5 a day, 3 weeks a month. You, Nick, your agency is looking for way more clients than my ideal client avatar, the person that I legit want to help. You're in a little different situation. Most of the people that are in your group that are watching this now or on replay, most of them, if they got 5 or 10 clients a month, they'd be fucking blown away. Doesn't take very much.
Yeah.
But understand this. We're all looking to base our buying decisions for something we're going to use on an ongoing basis where we have to interact with another human being and rely on being able to trust that person, on the ability to start a relationship. And the way that that is working is by giving them enough of you that they're not like, we get into a conversation and there's some dynamics there because we're live in a conversation that I, as the prospect, am not going to necessarily let you know about. And I want to be able to see you and hear you and understand what you think and know about this topic when you're not around. What's the easiest way to do that? Content on the internet. And we have the ability to target just specifically the people that we want to work with. It's really easy to get 100 or 200 leads a month to come see your stuff, to go through it. Out of 100 or 200, let's go back to the cold calling. A decent sales guy's actual numbers, cold calling in a hard hit, really destroyed industry, 100 phone calls should be 4 clients. Should be. If you can't do that with attraction marketing, go fucking do something else. Because out of 100 leads, you should have 15 clients. Like, that's legit.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you said several things I want to touch upon there. One, right now, it is a war zone. Everyone and their mom does appear to be a digital agency lead. Courses have blown up. You know, Dan Henry, so many courses out there, thousands of thousands. I saw a great post that a friend sent, and it basically was inside the mind of a chiropractor and what their experience is on Facebook specifically. And it is just absolute mess out there. You know, everybody and their mom is putting up ads, running stuff. They're getting bombarded with Facebook messages. So you said something that I think is really, really important when you talked about being different. We actually just recently started a campaign over here in the office that we're going to be doing for our our client management, our advertising for ourselves and advertising for our clients, and that is stand out. We are not a commodity. We must stand out. We must be different. You guys are going to see some wacky stuff coming from me here soon in order to catch people's attention, because I know people can see my ads in their Facebook feed. I see you guys all clicking on my bots. I see you guys walking through them. Everything is going to be stand out. So we're taking completely different radical approaches to different stuff to be able to stand out, because it is becoming more competitive. For every market that's offering leads on Facebook, it's becoming more competitive. You know, in healthcare, a year and a half ago, there was probably 10% of the amount of people who are on there now. So if you want to attract prospective patients, you have to be very, very different. And so don't be afraid to work on standing out, as I like to say, and proving that you're not a commodity, that we have something different, because this is still a very valuable skill set. It is still something that is very helpful. It makes the world run. Being able to bring customers to business is how, you know, capitalism, it's how the Western world works. And I also want to encourage you guys to do that in your cold emailing. I'm going to give you guys 2 headlines right now. We had a 51% open rate on this headline, and I'll share it with you guys to the group here because it's killing it. That's one of the things that's been big for us setting up appointments this week. And all it said was, just need you to know. Just out of nowhere, just need you to know. Massive headline. And you know, guess what? We had clicks, we had appointments, we had people show up. We had 1 call closed today from it. From a cold email campaign into walking. So stand out, be different, and I couldn't agree more about getting content out there. I have had 4 appointments this week come through a funnel that we had built for bot messaging, which is really very, very inexpensive, that talks about us. You know, we're 2 Comma Club members, so we use it. And I understand not everyone's a 2 Comma Club member, whatever, but it was very inexpensive to get that in because it was a different ad than what they were used to seeing. It was just something different out there, and they went through our bot, they scheduled, and boom, they buy. You know, so it's just be different, guys. Like, you really got to think outside the box here and test things. Don't be afraid to try new stuff. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Landon? Trying new things until you find what works and then pounding that. I mean, it sounds like that's how you got to your system in the first place, right?
unless you have sliced bread and nobody before has had sliced bread and everybody loves it and wants it, the only thing you can do is differentiate yourself. That's my whole message. Be your weird ass self and own that shit 100%, because there's something about you and your viewpoint or your perspective or your knowledge about your thing that you're doing for your clients. Leverage that and express that. Now, I'm going to follow up the email that you sent. You can't just use a clickbait headline and then have no substance. The fucking email's got to be solid too, which I'm sure it was. Yeah. But what Nick's saying is you got to get their attention. Remember, marketing is all about these three things: getting the right message in front of the right person at the right time. That's it. And if everybody's going that way, go that way. If everybody's doing it like this, do it like that. And if you base that like that on you and your weird little quirky personality and perspective of the thing you do, that's where you're going to find traction.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And don't be afraid to try new things and stand out. That's our whole mantra over here right now, legitimate. I'm just going to say it again. Stand out, be different, be yourself. You know, because I love how you brought up, let's find people that we like to work with, that we want to be with a long time. Because, guys, you want to be thinking long term here. You don't want to be thinking about that first month sale or that $500, $1,000 management fee. That's only going to carry you for so long. Landon made a great point that I want to touch upon soon. If you're not passionate, if you're not driven for this type of thing and running your own business, and if you don't love what you do, if there isn't a stronger why, I know that sounds esoterical and all that, you're gonna run into a brick wall and you're not gonna get back up. Because shit's hard. Shit is very, very difficult. I'll be sharing some things, some ups and downs we've had over here as an agency over the last 4 months, really trying to scale. It happens. It can be very difficult out there. So at least find something that you like and you're passionate about and that you can serve. Because I know you've ran into some roadblocks, Landon, but man, it gets hard out there.
Yep. Well, what's up, Mackenzie? How are you today? Mackenzie's killing it, and she posted Acuity and bots for the win. For those of you who don't know me and aren't in my world at all, I'm going to teach you real quickly what social acuity is. Remember at the very beginning of this, and if you weren't on when I did this and went through it, I was raised by women. I was indoctrinated with the ability to read the room, read the people that I'm dealing with. Social acuity is the ability to read the room and then the knowing how to respond to that room. Social acuity. You got to know your people. You got to know who it is that you're talking to, and you got to be able to listen enough to understand where they're at so you can then get in their head.
Absolutely. I mean, and a lot of people overthink this too. I've been revisiting Ryan Levesque and the Ask method, as well as Russell Brunson and his survey method, and we're actually getting something set up because we found that we were trying to pull some of the wrong levers in our sales process recently. And so we want to go out and ask. Do not underestimate how powerful it is to ask people. We had Matt Boyle on last week where he runs LinkedIn campaigns where he simply sends people a survey asking them questions, just looking to help out. It's amazing the amount of people who will fill out that survey. Now, just because you might not fill it out, remember, we are not advertising to ourselves. We can never assume that that is what will kill anything you do faster than anything else in trying a new method. So it's all about asking and really digging deep and spending time getting into your target market's head. Ben, my business partner, read a great book over the week, and I'm going to be reading it here soon too. The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster by Darren Hardy. And there's an entire exercise on here called Getting in Bed with Your Client. And it's just we're all of us as a team is going through it. Even though we have spent the last year and a half serving these clients, worked with hundreds of them over the last year and a half, generated millions in revenue, we are still trying to dial it in. Because guess what? Every year they have new problems. They have new pain points. Industries change.
Yep.
So yeah, I love that you bring that up, man, because that's a huge thing. And I've been wanting to talk about that anyways because it's been big internally over here. So as far as appointments, I don't know how much time we have here, Landon, but if we wanted to quickly talk about structuring a sales call, guys, ask some questions. What's going on? We got 16 people on here, and we got people who've closed millions of dollars of business right here. We got Landon on. Let's ask some questions. I know you guys have sales stuff. We talk about it all the time. Any specific things, let's go into that. But Landon, if you want to talk a little bit about once you've got somebody, on the hook, how you structure that sales call. Is it a two-step process, one-step process? Just give it maybe a high-level overview of how you run a call.
Sure. Now, for this to land right, those of you that are listening to this and going to base what you're going to go do off of what I say, you need to understand that the companies that I was dealing with were Fortune 1000. Okay, so the people that I was dealing with, Nick sent out a handwritten envelope. It's fucking amazing. It's red envelope, it's handwriting in different colors, and then there's something inside that's totally different. That's amazeballs. I would send a $400 bottle of scotch. I would send a signed football jersey from the Pro Bowl or whatever, right? I would send somebody and his wife to the opera for $1,500. Different levels here. The higher up you go in the corporate world, the less time for that conversation. You can call a chiropractor who's been hammered to death, and you can probably get him to spend 5 or 6 minutes with you, no problem. At corporate C-level, if Betty gets you on the phone with Bob, you've got 30 seconds. Okay? So my process for that, and then you need to understand this, that sales cycle was long. They might be in a 2-year contract, 4-year contract. They could be coming up at the end of the contract and the RFP's already out to 18 people and you're like last minute and you might get a shot to get in just under, right? Little different process, but here's the sales conversation. And this is true no matter what you're selling. There's 4 pieces to a sales conversation: intro, qualify, features and the benefits, and gain commitment. And the intro is, hey, Bob, I'm Landon. I do XYZ. Da-da-da-da-da. This is a sales call. You might want to hang up. Whatever. Ha, ha, ha. Okay, what you got? Well, let's do this. And you set the agenda, right? That's still part of the intro. Once they say, yeah, that's fair, then you go into qualifying. And you spend 20% of the talking time on that conversation is you. And 80% of your talking, the minimum part, is asking questions. Man, I could give you guys so much. They need to do 80% of the talking because you're asking them questions. They feel like and believe that they're leading the conversation and they're in charge, and they're not, because you're asking the questions. Once you've asked the questions, and the questions are simple and they only need to revolve around, do they want it? Do they need it? Can it impact their life? Can you provide that solution? And can they start now or soon? That's it. All of your questions need to revolve around that. I don't do the pain point thing. Once you get to the end of that questioning and you're like, okay, does that make sense? And they're like, yeah. And you're like, do you have any questions? And they're like, no. Okay, cool. Here's how we get started. It doesn't need to be any more difficult than that. Yep. A lot of people think that you need to do this and you need to trial close and you need to do all this nonsense. The human race is fucking tired of it. And if you're not really good at it already, it's going to take you way longer to learn that shit and then get really good at it to be effective. You might as well just go learn how to get clients by being real.
Yeah. Wow. I love it. And I love it even more because, like you said, sales is sales. There's definitely a big difference between length of time, how much time you have if you've got multiple decision makers, how big the price is. Like you said, RFP, which for everyone, it's a request for a proposal, in case you guys didn't know what that meant. But that's very, very, very similar, almost identical to how I structure a call. I'll give you guys what I do. We got the intro, and then I spend the first part. It's a 2-step process. A lot of times it can happen in one phone call. Today it happened in one phone call where it went from part 1 to part 2, and like you said, he basically said, when do we get started? And what you do is you spend that first part qualifying, and qualifying hard. It's super important. One, you've got to make sure they can afford your services. Very simple, almost exactly what you say. I might use a little different terminology, but it's the same idea. Do they need it? Can they make the decision? Can they afford it? Can I provide the solution? That's really all it comes down to. So I asked several questions on that. And guys, this is when you really want to dig in to your potential prospects. What their process is. What do they do? Learn everything about them and listen, because you need to take what you learn in this qualifying process and you're going to use that as ammunition later to set them up to make sure to walk them down the path when you go through and show them your solution. So part 1, qualifying. If it does make sense, if I deem them quality, if I think I can help them, I jump in. Hey, if you've got time right now, I'd love to walk you through a screen share. I'm big on visual presentation. Landon, you can tell me what you feel after I finish here, but I say if you've got time now, I'd love to visually walk you through our process. I don't like to talk about it over. It's best, viewed in person. And if they don't, then I set another time for them. I refuse to continue and explain our service and everything, except for a high-level overview, without being able to visually walk them through it, because that's just been so much more powerful in my experience. So, but if they do, I'll walk them right through it. And what I'll do is from there, I will start taking the things that I learned in the qualifying process, and I will show them what they want. So if I learned, okay, they're going to be going after this service, I'll give them an example of what that looks like. And I've already known what their customer acquisition value is, what their close rate is, how many appointments they need to get, X, Y, Z. And so as I'm walking them through the process, I'm simply asking them questions, things like, so, okay, so you told me that you're $5,000 case value. Awesome. If I was able to get you, if we got 40 leads, and let's say we got 20 of those people in the door, how many of those would you close? And they're like, oh, well, that'd be, I'd close 10 of them. I'm like, wow, that's $50,000 right there. Well, great. It turns out our service is only $3,000. When do you want to get started? That's simplifying the process a little bit. But that's a type of questioning that I do so that it makes it a no-brainer for them. If you walk them through and you paint a picture of them getting 20 new people in the door and they can close 10 and they know their lifetime value because they just told you what it was and they just told you how many people that they can close, it makes it so much easier to do one-call closes. It's very, very possible to do one-call close. It happened twice today alone over here, and it's very, very possible to do that. So that's kind of a high-level overview. I think we should, guys, let me know in the comments, but I think we should do a full-blown, straight-up sales call thing that I'll do for you guys in the next couple weeks about how I really run it and go dive into specifics. But Landon, what are your thoughts on, some of what I just said? You guys notice the similarities there? We didn't plan this beforehand. This is all right off the cuff because sales is sales.
Right.
So what are some of your thoughts there?
So has anybody watching this now not seen Wolf of Wall Street? Do you remember the part where Matthew McConaughey and Leonardo are in the restaurant and Matthew McConaughey's talking about that it doesn't fucking exist? That's what I sold. It wasn't a tangible physical thing. There was no return on investment. It was all protection, right? So it didn't fucking exist. There was no way to walk them through a thing until we started selling credit info services where we had a product that we could, and yes, we did that because it made sense and it made the sale a whole lot easier. For those of you guys that are watching this, you're selling a thing that's probably very similar to Nick. You're selling a service. Maybe it's marketing or copywriting or whatever. Here's what you need to understand. You need to get from them how many clients they want every month, how much those clients are worth to them every month, and then you need to do the simple math. And it looks like this. Well, okay, cool. In Nick's case, if I bring you 40 leads, or if I get 40 leads, 20 of them are in the door. Out of 20, how many are you going to sign up? I don't know, 10. Cool. How much are they worth to you each? I don't know, 5. So that's 50 grand. So if you gave me $10,000 and I give you back 50 grand next month, do you want to do that? Yeah. Cool. Nick, I love you, brother. Why are you selling it for 3 grand? I'm just busting your balls.
No, it's true.
Seriously, and a lot of people try and go around all these different things and try and sell their tools and their features and all of that. Bullshit. If you're in a position to be able to turn it into an ROI, paint that picture and do it with their numbers. It's fucking easy. How many do you want? And I would go the way I did it was if I brought you X number of clients this month and we did that every month forever, how many could you handle? Because that changes their thinking, because a lot of people that you're talking to are like, man, I need 20 clients right now and then I'm good. Well, I don't want to do that because then I kill it for you this month and you don't pay me next month. Screw that. I don't know, 5? Cool. How much are they worth to you? 5? So if I bring you 25 grand every month and you gave me 5 to do that, when do you want to get started? Let's see here. I'm going to pay you 5 grand and you're going to give me 25 back and we can do that every month. Can we start yesterday?
Yep.
Right? I mean, it's simple.
Yep, and to steal, one thing on that, guys, it's super important. You'll notice that both Landon and I talking about very similar things. We're asking the question where they say it themselves. What you don't want to do is be like, oh, it's 50 grand, I'm going to get you 10 patients. Let them answer the question because it's a subconscious psychological thing, in order to, let them come. Make it seem like they came up with the answer there. So that's a very important distinction. You don't want to just tell them you're going to get them 15 to 1. Walk them down that journey where they can envision it and see it as they're coming in.
Yep.
Man, well, we just went over a ton of stuff, guys. What types of questions do you have, if anything? We just covered multiple different ways to get clients immediately, ways to start building up attraction marketing style clients. We talked about overviews of how we run sales calls, which happen to be very similar. What other questions? What else do we have for you guys? And anything else that you wanna touch upon here, Landon? Before we get to where they can find you, follow you, all that
Sure.
good stuff.
For those of you that are watching this on replay, if you have questions for me specifically, tag me in it. I'm in the group. Okay. If you've got questions now, I'm flexible with my time. So if you guys have questions now, let's get into a conversation. The last thing that I will say is this. It's not woo-woo. If you actually enjoy the topic that surrounds the craft thing that you're going to go do, that's going to be the key driver for 99.9% of you in whether you get success or not. It's just a fact. If you're going after the money, awesome. Find an opportunity that really provides the money. If you're going after something that you really enjoy doing, that's a key point. Lee says, where to start? Lee, what are you selling? I wonder if it was, Lee asked this question up here. I'm like you, Landon, 38, all I've done is sales, but now looking towards online business, but don't know where to start. Always been good at sales. What's up, Jaden? Lee, to answer your question, where to start, do you already have a craft thing that you want to sell people? Or are you asking, like, what the fuck should I come up with that I can do for other people and get money for? Two totally different questions, right? Let's be a sales guy and let's qualify here real quick. Post it in the comments. No worries, Jaden. You can check out the replay, and I suggest you come back to this one. Okay, Lee, you don't have a thing that you can sell to other people. Here's what I would say. I would take out a piece of paper, and I would try and identify if I won the fucking Powerball tomorrow, like legit, $200 million after taxes, and I never needed money from anybody else. What is it that I would be passionately curious, like a 5-year-old with crayons, interested in pursuing with my every waking moment? Is it marketing? Is it antique documents? Is it fucking pipe stuff? Like, find a niche that you really are interested in. What's up, Tyson Hollis? And then within that niche, within that market, find a place that you can provide value in a way that other people aren't. And I will tell you this, if you're looking for a right now answer, it ain't going to happen. This is a process that you're going to think on for several days, more likely several weeks, more probably a couple of months. But if you're dedicated to like doing your own thing, that's what you're looking for. A thing that you like in an industry you really are interested in, and a way to provide value to the people in that industry that others are not. You need to find your little blue ocean.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'll second that. It's so important. And while you're checking out the questions there, Landon, I want to touch upon real quick. You talked about passion. You talked about that being a key driver. I'm a big believer in selling becomes 99% easier when you're excited, you're enthusiastic, and you believe in your service and product. Is it possible to sell things you don't believe in? Of course, if you're good enough. But, again, you're going to hit that wall. It's going to hurt. I believe selling is a transference of energy. So if you believe in your service, you believe in your product, it's going to make it that much easier to sell.
Fact.
Yep.
Fact. Dave says, do you have a different approach for a product with a longer sales process? An example, home building. No, I don't. Here's what it is. There's marketing. Okay. You got to get leads, and then you got to have a sales conversation. Earlier in this conversation, we went through what my methods are for prospecting. I don't care if you're selling toilet brushes or, bank vaults. It's the same process. Identify a market, go pinpoint the prospects that you want to get in front of with your message, and then reach out to them. Okay? Do you focus closing the sale the first time you get on the phone if you can? Okay, check this out. Nick, you may have heard me say this before, but I'm going to say this. Everybody thinks they have a sales problem. They actually have a prospect problem. If your focus is on closing, and I understand the question, and I'll get back to that here in a second. If your focus is on closing, you've got the wrong prospects on the phone or face-to-face or over Messenger or wherever. If you've got the right prospects, there's no need to close. They'll close themselves. Now, with that said, check this out. All of the heavy lifting is done on the front end. It's like painting a house. if you're going to do a really high quality job painting the house and make it easy on yourself, all the work is the prep work, the prospecting, getting the right fucking people to get your message to. The closing aspect of that is just as simple as a simple question. That's it. Now, Robert, it depends on what you're selling, right? I said a few minutes ago that the sales cycle in the industry that I was in was generally a very long sales cycle. It wasn't the only product we sold. The goal was to get our foot in the door on that phone call. At every fucking opportunity, you try and get the sale on that phone call. Now, you guys that know me from my world know that I believe in a certain way to do sales, but I mean, let's be real. If you're going to go do the thing and you're really going to put in the time and the effort and you're okay with the fuck yous and the hang-ups, go for it. If they need it, if they want it, if it makes sense, if they can pay for it, if they can start now, why the fuck would you not get it on that call? Now,
Yep. We had 2 today, Robert. It all depends on what you're selling, and you can, man. Don't be worried about being pushy, man. You don't want to worry about coming on too strong, because I love how Landon puts it. If you've qualified them properly, if you've got the right prospect, you've got the right message, you know you can help them, they're not going to think you're coming on too strong. That is a mental struggle that you're facing, man. Robert, I know Robert real well personally. So, Robert, make sure you go follow Landon here. And, Landon, let's drop a link. Do you have a link to your group we can put here in the chats? Let's do that. How can they follow you, man?
just if you can type it in or I can type it in, either way, it's facebook.com/groups/gorilla juice. And I'll type it in too.
I'll drop it here.
Yeah, it's /groups/gorilla juice. Just like it sounds.
Gotcha.
Robert.
Oh, we got oh, sorry, go ahead. We got one more question over here on a different page too.
Robert, real quick, because after I got done talking, I clicked the drop down. Here's the deal, man. If you've got a potential on the phone and you have the ability to have that conversation with them, they are never as hot as they are on that conversation. If you go through that process and you must schedule another phone call, the only way that's ever going to happen is if that next phone call is dated, timed, and more important to them as to the reason to be on that next phone call than it is for you. If you can accomplish that, awesome sauce. If not, you want to get it done on the call.
Yep, absolutely, guys. And I love that you mentioned that. It's just a really simple thing. Never, we call it DNS, where I'm from definite next steps. Any sales thing ever, you have a definite next step. Do not let them say they will call you back. You ask them what day, what time. Oh, don't worry, I'll reach back out to you, because they will just assume it's never coming. Sure, once in a blue moon, you might get somebody who calls you back out of nowhere, but you must set an exact time, and you must set an exact place, and like I said, give them a reason to be there. And another quick little tip when you're setting sales calls, don't say, are you available next week? Give them 2 options, lock it down. Are you available Monday morning or Wednesday afternoon? What time works best? You want to provide some scarcity for your end, but again, these guys are busy. They don't want to have to think about, I don't want to check my schedule or look at it. So those are just some quick minor tips, guys, when you're setting calls and if you want them to actually show up on those calls.
Yep.
Cool. So we had one question here on the page here, Jason. I'm not sure if you're still on with us. It basically was, if you are sick and you have the flu and you're taking calls, would you tell your prospects you're under the weather?
Jason Dollinger.
Yes.
He's my boy. He's one of our students. No, I wouldn't. If where that would come up and how that would come out would be with a client who knew me well, who said, "Man, you feeling all right? You okay? You don't sound that great." "No, man, I'm sick as a dog." With a prospect, honestly, if I was sick with the flu, I wouldn't be on the fucking phone. That's just me. Look, the actual art of doing a sales conversation is a contact sport. As much as I lean to a certain end of the spectrum, you're getting into a conversation with somebody who doesn't know you, doesn't want or need the thing that you've got yet, and they have no idea why you're calling. If you're not at the top of your game, good luck. The numbers game sucks to begin with, and you're just making it harder on yourself. Nope, take the fucking day off, take the week off, heal up, and then go crush it.
Yep, couldn't agree more with that. I definitely wouldn't be taking that call. I would reschedule, something along those lines, because you want to keep that open. And if you're sick and you're not thinking right and it's new and you're newer at this, then you want to be on point. You don't want to use excuses like a sniffle as an excuse. I'm talking about like the flu, right? Like, don't talk yourselves out of calls, guys. I know so many of you guys get the heebie-jeebies and, get butterflies in the stomach and nervous on these calls. What would you say to that, man? Really quick, I would love to hear your thought process on that. People who are nervous to talk to other people, getting on the phone, especially as you're getting started here.
Yep. As you're getting started, here's some tips. And if you use these, life's going to be a lot easier for you. No caffeine, really minimize the sugar, don't eat a whole lot of carbs so you're not tired, and schedule your cold calls around right after lunchtime for your prospects. They will be slower and more lethargic, and they will be less amped up, and they will be more inclined to sit back and relax and have a conversation with you. If you do those couple of things, it's going to be way easier. And then you need to understand this. You're taking your message to somebody who's not expecting it, right? So most of them are going to be a little gruff to begin with. It ain't you. If you're not being a complete shithead on the phone, it ain't you. Understand that. And then this next piece, we all put our pants on damn near the same way. They are just people. They're no different, bigger, better, more successful, higher up than you are. It's just another person. And if you're that terrified to get on the fucking phone and make cold calls, then maybe you should be doing it a different way.
Yeah, a way that Landon can help out with, guys. Make sure you join his group. It looks like we got his group or his link posted here. Looks like we got another question here, Landon, from Tanner. How do you ask questions to determine the decision makers needed? If the person you're talking to is willing to / capable of getting to them, and do it in a way that feels natural.
I never have my sales conversation with somebody who doesn't have the sole responsibility to write the check. Ever, 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 ever. Period. I'm not talking to the secretary. I'm not telling so-and-so's junior whatever, deputy whatever. No. The person who has the sole responsibility to write the check. If it's a husband and wife team, I never have the conversation without both of them on the phone. Because you're just wasting your own time. Best case scenario, it's practice. I don't know about you, but I'd rather go play the game. Gonna practice anyways. Let's give it our best shot. How do you ask questions to determine the decision makers needed? Are you the decision maker? No. The decision makers needed. Go get them. Like, you can't sell something to somebody who doesn't have the ability to write the check for it. Now, decision maker in a company, big company, they don't have to be the owner. They don't have to be the CEO or the CFO. If the controller, the credit manager, the treasurer, the HR person, or the CMO has the ability to make that decision, that's who you need to talk to.
Yep, absolutely. Craig asked a good question. You got a great one for when you get on the phone with the business owner, but what's your favorite way to get through the gatekeeper?
Okay, so check this out. Everybody thinks that the gatekeeper's job is to put your phone call through to Bob. No, the gatekeeper's job is to keep you off the phone with Bob. So all the people that get gruff and rough and, demeanoring that person get put in voicemail, and that voicemail gets deleted because she goes right into Bob's office and says, that shithead that I just passed you, delete that fucking voicemail. He's never getting through to you ever. Well, what's the other way to do that? What's the opposite way to do that? Build a relationship with Betty, right? Do it in a natural way. You're not trying to flatter her. You're not trying to fluff her up because they read through that too. And that's all bullshit. That's all salesperson bullshit. No, fucking be you. Hey, Betty, my name's Landon. I do XYZ. I think it makes sense for Bob and I to have a conversation. What's the best time to get him on the phone? Don't pass me. Don't toss me. Don't go get him right now. What's the best time to get Bob on the phone for 5 minutes? I promise I won't make him angry with you. That's how I did it. And it always worked.
I love that. I'll throw up a little bit here. I don't make too many cold calls anymore. Well, I don't make any cold calls right now. We've got cold email, things like that going out. But getting started, I did, because guess what? If you got more time than money, get uncomfortable, go get some fucking sales. It's like you said, 5 to 10 clients. Everyone overthinks that. Getting that every month is really not that difficult. But what I did, it was part of my direct mail and email strategy. When I called that front desk, I would say, hey, I sent the doctor a note a couple days ago. Can you go make sure? Can you see if he got that letter? I want to put him through, and that would be starting to open it. Oh, did he read that? Did he read that letter? It was the most easygoing thing in the world. I never got an angry gatekeeper at all. Sometimes and there was times where they knew about it. We generated hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue on a monthly recurring revenue from direct mail letters sent in 2016. That worked. That I would call to follow up with, because again, one direct mail piece isn't going to do it all. I hit them with emails, the phone calls, and the follow-up there. So that was one thing I did. Or, hey, I sent an email over to XYZ. This is the best email form. I really want them to check it out. Some simpler ways to go around it as well. I would recommend mixing, different things in there, different strategies. But that was the way I was able to, get through without having too much. Granted, guys, I want to be real frank with you. Gatekeepers, you might think they're being assholes if they hang up on you or whatever, but you've never heard an asshole till you call an angry NFL fan in the South who tells you to go fuck yourself and tells you to go die as if I'm out there playing quarterback, So I think that was a good lesson learned. Because at the end of the day, like you said, the gatekeeper's job is to keep you away from the business owner. The only way you're actually ever going to get through, especially with the real gatekeepers or the people who are real busy, is if you develop a relationship and you convince them that, hey, I've got something that is worth Bob's time. Mm-hmm. So that's my 2 cents on that one as well.
Craig asks, what's your success rate with that? So while you were doing that, I was trying to do some numbers in my head. So Craig, you need to understand the 10 years that I was in corporate finance where I was dealing with a gatekeeper. The first about 3 or 4 years is when I did all of the heavy lifting and the cold calling and that. And then I found my other way of doing it. So these numbers are a little skewed. During my tenure in that world, I brought on myself about 2,000 clients, which averages out to roughly 20 a month. Most of that, the majority of that, was brought on the first 3 or 4 years. I was crushing it. I was top 1% in my industry, and we had 6,000 competitors just in the United States. So here's how big and here's how long it is. I did $100 million in 10 years in that industry. I was doing 300 phone calls a day for the first year or so. And then it was probably somewhere between 180 and 200 a day. 200 phone calls a day, 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year for another 3 years. Okay. And then my process changed. Now, here's another aspect of this. I brought on about 2,000 clients. So that's how I dealt with that. But I got to a position to where the company, were giving me clients that other people were opening because I had the shit, right? So at the end of my tenure, I dealt with roughly 4,000 clients. Well, when Bob gets fired or Bob goes away or Bob dies and there's another person that happened quickly and nobody else has a relationship with you, guess who you get? His fucking gatekeeper. How do you get through that? It's the same process. Now, I will say this. I'm not the end-all be-all. I don't think I'm the only one with the answers, and there's a million ways to skin a cat. My process and my personality, that worked for me. On average, if I made 300 phone calls a day, I had 12 prospects, which means I had roughly 45 or 50 conversations. So out of 300, I got through to Bob and on the phone with Bob 50 times out of 300 and had the full conversation. Worked pretty good. How many times did I get Bob's voicemail? But Betty was like, yeah, this guy's cool. And she passed me through, I don't know, 120 out of 300, 100 out of 200. How many calls do you need to make to get a client? Right? We're all different.
Yeah, absolutely, man. The success rate is it's so dependent on industry, who you're targeting, what the C levels are. I mean, you're getting through to C level people there. I bet those numbers will be greatly improved if you're calling, a small business owner who doesn't have the, angry gatekeeper like that. The main point of what we're talking about here, guys, is we're overthinking so much of this for getting through and getting your first couple sales. And at the end of the day as well, the only way to get better at selling Now you hear, Landon talk about a bunch of numbers here and generate a lot. You hear me talk about, what we've done and all that stuff, and I'm still small time, is to have a shit ton of conversations and to go out there and ask for money. And Landon, I'm sure you can relate to that. The only way to get better at selling is to go sell shit,
Practice makes what?
Perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Last chance for any questions. Anything else? This has been an amazing call, Landon. So glad we were able to get you to jump on here, man, and pick your brain and everything there. So with that, I mean, if there's anything else you want to say here.
Did we record this by any chance?
Did we record this? Yeah, we got the live, right? Yeah, it's on OBS.
Cool. Facebook, I think, changed their process, and unless there's a way that I don't know about, you can't download even your own lives anymore. So if we've got a copy of this, I would love to have a copy of this. Here's what I would say to all of you. If you're new-ish, if you're looking for ways to go get clients and you're going to do the cold outreach thing, about 15 or 20 minutes into this conversation, I broke down a couple of processes to get you started with clients. If you're good at what you do and you build relationships with those people, it's easy to ask them for who do you know that could also benefit from this, right? You don't need to bribe them. You don't need to give them discounts, and you don't even need to pay them. If you did a good job for them and they refer you somebody and you do a good job for that person trusts your original client that much more. That's all they're looking for. Okay. I have a software that lets you download anything, Landon. How did I not even think of that, balls? Yeah. Yep. Cool. Awesome. I'd like a copy of this. Be a real boy, be a real girl, go out into the world and ask for what you want. You get what you ask for. So if you're getting stuff that you don't really like, you're not clear on what it is that you want. Get clear on what you want and then go ask for it. That's how I would wrap that up. That's the last thing I would say.
I love it. Closed mouths don't get fed. Have clarity, have a vision, go get what you want. The great thing about life is we can build whatever the hell we want, and we need to take responsibility for where we're at. And selling is one of the best ways to be able to get where you want to go in life, because in my opinion, it's probably the most valuable skill, because we sell our friends, our families, everything. This was an amazing call. We'll have to have you back here in the next couple of months, man. This has been fantastic, Landon. So thank you so much for your time. And all right, guys, we'll be back here next week.
Awesome sauce.